Hey everyone, this is just a chill video. I read this interesting piece the other day on the Hollywood Reporter. Todd McCarthy, Summer 2019's Sad, Stale State of the Movies. I thought this was interesting because a couple of months ago I made this video on Edge of Tomorrow, and I was like, if we keep on ignoring these good original blockbusters, then the same old reboots and sequels are going to come out, and then we're going to get a bunch of shit. And that's basically what happened this summer. This is like the culmination of everything wrong with 2010's filmmaking in the summer, just all happening at once. And it's failing, it's backfiring on the studios, and it's absolutely wonderful. So, the big takeaway from this that isn't negative is Disney, because Disney is ruling the box office. Basically, the summer season, I say, started with Avengers Endgame, because basically Marvel has kicked off every summer season since the Avengers. 847 million domestic gross. I mean, that's incredible. Aladdin made 320. Toy Story 4, despite being underwhelming, made 306, so that's not bad at all. Spider-Man Far From Home made 185 so far. It's still kicking ass. It really surpassed expectations. And yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home is Sony. But the point is that anything Disney touches, MCU related, live action remake, whatever, it's gonna make money. They have been the powerhouse of the past decade. They will be going into this decade, and I'm interested to see what studios will try and top them because no one even comes close. It's just sad. And I think Disney should aim for more, aim for bigger and better, because we have these subpar movies like Aladdin, or like people are spending so much money, investing so much time in all your movies, and you're going to give us something like that. I think it's just sad, and I think that we should expect more of Disney heading into this next decade. And so the second biggest takeaway is the fact that audiences are getting smarter. They're not going to see the same old sequels and reboots. Now, like stuff like Secret Life of Pets 2. We all knew it was going to be bad. We knew critics weren't going to like it. We knew that the majority of audiences weren't going to like it, but we were just like, people are going to see it, whatever. And it's not even at 150 million. I mean, that's sad. Godzilla King of the Monsters barely broke 100 million. Men in Black International was shit, 72 million. Dark Phoenix is the biggest superhero bomb of all time. It's 64 million. It's pathetic. It's horrible. I mean, this is a complete... I use this word very leniently because we have stuff like Avengers and all these other superhero movies. But this is on the verge of this huge collapse of summer blockbusters. This is horrible. This is one of the worst seasons in years because it's everything wrong with this past decade pushed into one season, and no one is going to see all this garbage. No one's going to see all these sequels and reboots. Now, that's not to say that people aren't seeing certain stuff, because John Wick Chapter 3 is a sequel. However, it looked good. It was from two movies that were previously good, and it's from this huge action star, Keanu Reeves. And I think the big takeaway from that is people are paying attention to past movies, past reputations, and they're taking that into account with these new movies, because none of the movies I mentioned, Secret Life of Pets, Godzilla, the last Men in Black, the last X-Men that wasn't Logan, so I guess that would be Apocalypse, all of these movies were bad. And so we look at these audiences and they're basically like, I'm not seeing that shit anymore. I spent my money on it once, I'm not doing it again. And that's pretty inspirational to have, last decade and really in the beginning of this decade where everything Michael Bay, they just ate that shit up, into this is kind of beautiful. And it's not just down to genre stuff either. It's not like no one's seeing horror. We have The Curse of La Llorona and Pet Sematary, yeah, well, they were sort of close. They were both like in the beginning of the season, even before Endgame. But they were like still on the cusp of that summer season. And not a month before, Us is coming in at number 6 with 175 million. Like, that's incredible. So it's not just down to... It's not just down to a genre, it's not just down to one certain thing. It's simply quality, because Jordan Peele made Get Out, and that made a lot of money, and people really like that. And so people are paying attention to who is directing these movies. How good are the trailers looking? How good was the last movie I saw from that franchise? And I think that that is great, and we should be super optimistic about the future years of summer blockbusters, because studios are going to have to step it up or they're going to die. And I think that if they die, it's not even that much of a loss either, because one of the biggest surprises so far is I heard that a lot of people saw yesterday, which is awesome because it's an indie film. It's part of that new AMC Artisan thing. And I think that AMC Artisan thing may signal this rise of indie films, sort of not. Of course, this would happen over the course of a couple of years, but maybe even taking over the summer. And that's crazy, looking at these numbers. It's absolutely crazy to think that we could be going into a decade where indie films are now going to be the shit of summer. Because looking at this stuff, of course, there will always be those huge blockbusters that everyone will see. But a lot of the same stuff that people were seeing over and over again, they're just not seeing it anymore. And I think that that's awesome. Now, obviously, this could be a fluke. It could be a couple of months, it could be bad. And so I think that what we should look for is a couple of movies over the next couple of months. Look for all the indie films. Look for stuff like Midsummer, The Art of Self-Defense, The Farewell. Look how those films do, because if these indie films keep stuff like Midsummer, if Midsummer does well, it's had an okay start, but if it gets a lot better, then we could be seeing more and more indie films released around this time, because people are still free. It's summer, so they're gonna have more free time on their hands. They're gonna see these movies. And then secondly, look for films, not Lion King, because that's big and it's Disney, but look for Hobbs and Shaw, because Hobbs and Shaw is a sequel to a huge franchise. It's like the most brand thing you can get. It's a sequel and it's a spin-off. The previous movies were not good. 7 was sort of good, but 8 was shit. And the trailers aren't good. It looks really bad. And so, if that movie makes a lot of money, then my whole algorithm is messed up. It's all done. You're gonna see the same old, stupid studio executives are gonna think that this was all a fluke, and we'll just go back to the same old shit. But if that film does bad, because that's really the last big thing out of this summer season. Sure, we have It Chapter 2, but that's in September. A lot of people are already back in school. That is the last big thing that isn't coming from a director, like a well-known director, like Quentin Tarantino. And if we see Hobbs and Shaw fail, then I think that, and all those other indie films perform at least moderately well, then we may be at the beginning of this shift into indie films taking over the summer and the slow, very slow, but, sure demise of the summer blockbuster. And I'm interested, to see what you guys think, because this has been a brutal summer for these blockbusters. Indie films are on the rise, and I would like to hear what you guys, what your thoughts are. What do you think is going to happen in this next decade? What do you think about these movies? What do is it a fluke? Is it going to, lead to some huge shift in the industry? I'm really interested. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you all next time.